On this week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast, a need versus a want. So, welcome back to this week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast. We are coming to you, both of us, remote. My name is Sean Yesner. I'm the owner and founder of Yesner Law and the host of the Crushing Debt Podcast, together with my co-host, George Curbelo. How you doing, George?
Oh, I think we're freestyling right now. We're going to be in trouble today. It's like, let's see how good we can do without the edits and stuff. But I'm doing really well. I have to say that I'm so over the city life and New York City. So as much as I love growing up and learning how to be the city boy itself, I think I am a suburbanite and I'm ready to go back to some slowdown. It's been crazy, man. I mean, the amount of traffic. I'll just tell you this. I was stuck on the GW, if you're familiar with New York, going, from New York to New Jersey, complete stop, like no movement on the bridge for 45 minutes. I'm like, yeah, I'm good.
In Florida, we call that I-4.
Yeah, exactly. At least I-4. Yeah, true indeed. True indeed. All right. Yeah, definitely. I avoid I-4 and I avoid New York like a plague. It's no, thank you, buddy. No, thank you for sure.
It's funny when I first moved to Tampa, I came from Miami, and it was literally, I probably lived 10 to 15 miles from work, and it would take me literally an hour and 15 minutes to go that distance. And if there was an accident on my route, add a half hour to that. It was crazy. And so when I finally moved to the Tampa Bay area, I lived in Clearwater, and my first office on my own was in Tampa. So I had to go from Clearwater to Tampa. I had to go over the Courtney Campbell, and it took me, I don't know, it took me about an hour. I'm sorry, about a half hour to make that trip. And I had people like, oh my God, it took you a half hour. How do you deal with? I'm like, I'm used to like an hour and a half each way.
Exactly.
On a good day. A half hour doesn't bother me anymore.
I'll take 30 minutes any day for that kind of stuff. So yeah, no doubt there. I will not complain ever again about traffic. So we're good.
More important question: how you doing away from home in the no spend challenge?
So the challenge there, well, the good news is that I haven't seen friends and family, so they seem to be really like, oh, I got you. I'll try. Don't worry, I got this drink. I got this, this meal itself. So that's been helpful there. I've been creative on the no spend, and I realized it through the tolls. Like, oh, it's convenient to go through this toll, even though it's, everything in New York is expensive. Even a $4 toll is like, oh, that's a convenience, but it does shave, you're talking shaving of time and shaving of miles. So for me, when I make those decisions to say, I'm not going to take the toll and I'm going to go around and, find a way to not do the toll, that's how I've been kind of saving some spots there as well. So I've actually saved about, I think it was $3, so about $12 recently in regards to just avoid the tolls and go a little bit longer. And you're only talking maybe 4 or 5 miles extra to get to the destination. So that's how I've been kind of working through the no spend at this point. I'm trying to not spend any. New York is expensive, man. You try not to spend anywhere anyway. So that's not going to happen altogether. But yeah, the tolls is where I've been very creative and working. It's been working so far.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I'm more, for me, it's been more about habit building. So, I mean, again, today I made a sandwich, and, I went to Costco, and the boys like the small cucumbers and the little peppers. And so throw a couple of those in their lunch, throw some in my lunch, bring a sandwich with me. And so I'm saving a ton of money, just not having to go out. But I did have a pretty big no spend fail this weekend.
Uh-oh, what happened?
Well, I'm going to give myself a pass because I did really well. The law firm's doing pretty good.
Good.
And so I had hit a goal that I wanted to accomplish within the law firm. I had hit a goal that I wanted to accomplish here with the kids. And so I decided to take the boys to the Rays game, the Tampa Bay Rays.
Oh, that's right. I did see the picture. Okay.
Versus the Orioles, the Baltimore Orioles. It also happened to be the day that they call the chop at the Trop. So for those that don't know, the Rays play at Tropicana Field here in St. Petersburg. And because I'm an FSU grad, they had um, basically a promotion for FSU grads to go to the Rays game, and then I think the following day was Chomp at the Trop for the Gator fans, and so they made these hats with the garnet and gold Tampa Bay logo, and on the side it says Chop at the Trop, and in the stadium there they're playing FSU highlights, and they have the war chant going and all that other stuff. And so I brought both of my boys. And so, you go and you got to get the souvenir helmet with popcorn in it. And you got to get, a couple of hot dogs and a couple of sodas and a couple of this and a couple of that. And I said, well, it's a good thing I saved as much money as I did so far during the no spend challenge, because that was pretty much what funded the trip to the baseball stadium over the
Gotcha.
weekend. But
There you go. Not a
yeah,
fail. I
we had
mean,
fun.
you got to use, you obviously, where you're going to use the money itself that you're saving, and some of the extra, you got to, I always say, you always have to really give yourself the freedom and the flexibility, and enjoy life a little bit. We forget, it's like, make the money, make the money, make the money. And sometimes it's, you do have to have those moments where with family, enjoy that time with them itself doing it. I mean, baseball. I mean, I'm not a big baseball fan. Some people were like, ugh, what's that? Ugh. But I was envious. So I will give you credit there, buddy.
Well, and it was I probably go to about 1 or 2 games a year. I mean, we are getting into football season, and it's funny, some of the fans knew exactly where to sting. I was on my way out, and the Rays happened to lose to the Orioles on Saturday when we went to the game.
Right.
And I overheard one fan saying to another, well, Seminoles are bad luck. They brought us bad luck. We lost to the Orioles. Well, the next day, Sunday, was the Gator fans, the Gator alumni, and they lost too. So at least I don't feel so bad.
So they lost the series
They
because
lost the series.
Florida football fans are visiting the, like, guys, it's the football. Get that out of baseball, man. You can't be mixing the two. Love it.
Well,
Love it.
I'm
Hey,
about to get
did you at least didn't not as many hot dogs, because it's too easy to get hot dogs as part of being in the stadium itself. Do we at least give you credit there?
I had one hot dog.
Okay.
And then we had 3 kids with us. So I brought my two sons, and I brought one of their friends, and they split 2 personal pan pizzas. So I probably saved a couple of bucks over getting everybody their own pizza and everybody their own popcorn and everybody their own. I probably saved a few bucks that way just by doing it that way. And I guess had I really, really been thinking about it, I could have tried to smuggle some snacks. Do you bring snacks to the movies when you go? Do you still go to the movies and bring
We still
snacks?
go to the movies, and we do. My kids like the popcorn. They do like the the Slurpee, or the frozen ice that kind of drink, and of course it's so much sugar, but yes, we do sometimes. I would say deny to deny, but yes, we would bring in some candy, little quick bites itself that maybe it's not specific to popcorn. I don't think I would come in with popcorn. We gotta I'll give them the popcorn at least, but candy, Three Musketeers, things like that. Yeah, those are my go-tos. I do laugh when there's some folks in there, like, you're cracking open a beer. You hear the crack of the can go. It's like, oh, okay, guys, yeah, make it obvious, at least when maybe when the preview is playing, so it's not so obvious.
Although I will say, there was one year, Florida State was playing Oklahoma for the national title in the Orange Bowl. This is the 2000 season, so the 2001 Orange Bowl game. And Florida State had made it into the Orange Bowl against Oklahoma for the national title. And I lived in Miami at the time, and I was like, there's no way I'm not going to this game. My boss at the time was the treasurer for the British American Chamber of Commerce. He was from England. He's an attorney, did immigration law and real estate law, which is really how I got my start in this area. But he was the treasurer for the British American Chamber of Commerce, meaning I put together all the budgets and the accounting and
right.
And I did all that. So I was basically the treasurer, and he got credit for it. But we went to the end of the year banquet party that they had for the British American Chamber, was sponsored by British American Airlines. And so they had the little alcohol drinks at every chair, the little rums and
okay,
whatever. And so as the as the event was ending, I went around and I collected all the little bottles. of all the-
Can't go to waste.
I remember the first half of the Orange Bowl. I remember that we lost,
That's all you need. There
but
you go. That's a good
yeah.
night, man. That's a good
I
night right
I
there.
I snuck a bunch of alcohol into the stadium, and that's was so I don't bring candy to the movie theater, but I do sneak alcohol into the stadium.
There you go. There you go. You're half good then. We have to repent on some of these misgivings that we're doing here. But nah,
Yeah,
it's all
there
right.
we
It's
go.
all good, brother. It is all good.
So speaking of, we've kind of been dancing around the subject, but we did get a question in the No Spend Challenge page in the Crushing Debt Spending Challenge Facebook page. So Tiffanie, one of our friends, has been on the podcast a whole bunch of times. Tiffanie Kellogg, you can go back and listen to any of her episodes. Um, what she wanted to have was a discussion on how to classify a need versus a want when it comes to spending money.
Right.
So what do you think? What's a need? How do you classify a need versus a want?
Yeah, and if you remove the emotional piece to that question itself, determining your needs really are, the things that you need to be able to function, be able to live comfortably, whether, and a lot of this for me is you need a house over, a roof over your head, I would say. You need a house to be able to be comfortably and kind of sleep somewhere you can kind of call home, be able to, do what you need to do, and then be able to go out the next day and do the things that are necessary. In that house, though, you need electricity, right? You need the utilities on. So you got to take a shower. You got, again, I know some of our kids might say showering is optional, but I would say, but for me, that's, a place to cook, place to do those kind of things. Now whether it is a need to have the temperature in the house at 62 degrees, again, up for debate. There's being comfortable is going to be a objective type, a subjective type of discussion. So I would say, but housing is one. Transportation, you got to get you got to get to work. Now, now again, the difference between needing a car, for me, you need 4 wheels and an engine, maybe a door optional, and that kind of thing. But again, we have a lot of Jeeps in Florida, so the doors are optional apparently. But do you need the Lexus versus the, maybe a older model, a Kia or something like that? Those are, again, that difference between needing something to get around and wanting the top of the line Tesla. Knowing that difference is a little bit more deep. Now, do you think insurance? How about insurance? I mean, I think that would become a need, but it depends on the type of insurance, I would say. So you tell me, like, what do you think in regards to insurance?
Well, for me, I mean, what I did with insurance, so I happen to do both. So we bought my wife's car, which means we don't have any more payments on her car. That's been paid off. But
Right.
my car's a lease. And so my lease requires that I carry a certain level of insurance. So from that perspective, insurance is a need. Plus, I think under Florida law, and I'm not a personal injury attorney, so don't quote me on this, but
Right.
there are certain limits of insurance that I think you need under Florida law, but that's it. So
Yeah.
for me, what I said is, what does the lease require? That's what I'm going to have. I'm not going to have more than that.
Right.
So whatever the lease requires is what I have, is what I have.
Car insurance. Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, health insurance is also a requirement, and
Health insurance is
federally
a need.
and state wise, but it is definitely
Yeah.
something that's needed because, again, we're all going to get sick. You want some type of coverage that's in place.
Life insurance.
Life insurance is important. If you're in crisis mode, though, is that the first thing we're looking to kind of worry about? I would think definitely the earlier, the younger you are when it comes to life insurance. It's something that I would think should be a need as part of the list, especially if you're building family, building house, anything that you have that's gonna, that needs to be covered if you're not there. So I definitely would agree with that. But do you need what do they have? The whole life insurance? Do you need, supplemental blah, blah, blah insurance, disability insurance? Those become more of your, like wants as maybe you're expanding and building wealth. those are the things that you would want to include as part of your building wealth journey.
Yeah, I mean, and I have life insurance. I'm worth more dead than alive. Uh,
Yeah.
I have life insurance. I had Aflac insurance at one point, but
Hmm.
I remember years and years and years ago, I was at a point in my budget where I couldn't really afford all of these insurances.
Right.
And I said, you know, what good's it going to do to have Aflac insurance if I'm not making the money to support it and I have to go bankrupt? What difference does it make? So I ended up dropping Aflac, but I do
Yeah.
have life insurance. One of the things my dad always said is, you know, it's as you get older, things start to happen and you
Yep.
become disqualified for certain types of life insurance. But once you
Correct.
have it, you basically have it forever. So,
Correct.
you
Well,
know, for
depending on the term.
whatever the term is.
Correct. Correct.
Um, so, you know, if you buy life insurance and then you get, you know, heart disease, lung disease,
Cancer.
diabetes, cancer,
Anything. Yeah, those are
um,
all. Yeah.
you keep the life insurance you have. You can't cancel it because you have those things. You couldn't qualify for
You
more,
couldn't qualify for a new one anyway if
but
it
they couldn't
wasn't,
cancel it.
but they couldn't cancel it on you. Correct. Yep.
So
So
from that
definitely,
perspective,
I would agree. And, I think it should be high on the list, but it's like, it's not going to be more important from a needs perspective compared to your house. Again, you got to
right.
work, you got to make income, you got to be healthy enough to be able to kind of go do those kind of things. For me, though, life insurance, you're absolutely right. It's a need. It may be lower on the priority list as you go. So, because I mean, the last thing I would say is food. You got to eat, you got to stay healthy, nourish. Now what you eat, that's
Yeah.
the
Now,
level. If you
food,
do eat out, or that's, again, that would be the other category between needs and wants.
yeah, food was interesting to me because you're right. I mean, eating in versus eating out, I'm obviously saving a good
Hmm.
portion of money. Not only am I saving money, but I'm noticing leftovers are getting eaten instead of going to waste.
Correct.
Food is getting eaten
Good.
instead of going to waste. So less waste by not going out. And then we do all of our grocery shopping on Sunday. So we go to Costco every couple of weeks, and we do the regular grocery shopping every week. And I noticed yesterday as I was helping out with the grocery shopping, as I'm grocery shopping, I'm looking for buy one, get ones. I mean, I don't care if it's the Sargento cheese versus the local
Yeah.
grocery store brand. I'm looking, there's always one cheese, whether it's shredded
Yeah.
cheese
Hmm.
or slices of cheese. There's always one brand that's buy one, get one. And that's the one that I buy because cheddar cheese is cheddar cheese is cheddar. I don't care what bag it
Right.
comes in.
Well,
You know,
some people do. And now, again, is needing organic versus some kind of process. And again, that some of these decisions we're making, does that become a want and need type of discussion as well?
I think it might depend on your diet.
True.
I mean, if you're lactose intolerant, for example, do you need the almond milk
Yep.
versus the regular milk? Do you need milk at all? You know,
Great question.
if you're trying to stick to a certain diet, you're trying to stick to a low glycemic diet. Because honestly, I think the internet memes are true in this particular case. It's a lot less expensive to eat unhealthy. It's a lot more expensive, I think, to eat healthy. To get the fresh vegetables and to get the fresh fruits and to get the keto and the low carb and the low sodium and the low preservatives, and that stuff tends to be a little bit more expensive than buying junk food. But
Absolutely.
but I think you need it. I mean, we need food to survive. We need food and drink to
Yeah.
survive.
And you need good food to
So
keep you healthy so that you are long enough to be able to work or be able to be there for family. So it really becomes that type of conversation as well. So
yeah, but then from there, so like last night, one of the things I made for dinner was butternut squash, and it's really good. Put some cinnamon and
mm,
uh some other spices on it, salt, pepper, cinnamon, nutmeg, and it and bake it in the oven, came out really good. but I noticed there was like a $2 difference between buying it and cutting it up myself and
Right.
cooking it versus buying it already cut up. So even though eating healthy is a need, you can still find cheaper alternatives than
Well, convenience will always cost. So if you
right,
want like smaller portions or, pre-cut fruits, that is going to be more expensive because you're literally paying for the person who did the cutting up for you. And I
right.
think that's you paying for convenience. And in some cases, I may not have the time this week to be able to like, oh, let me get the big watermelon and then take the time to cut it, put it up and put it into the packaging itself. Sometimes it's just faster to just pick up the plastic. It was already cut. I'm good. I'll eat it and we're good. And try it again maybe when I have more time later in the week. All
Yeah,
choices we make.
all choices we make, although at the same time, actually did cut up a watermelon yesterday. Because Sunday night, we're kind of winding down, we're done with
Yeah.
dinner, we're sitting on the couch watching TV. What am I gonna, it's not gonna take me too much time to cut up a watermelon at that point. I can knock that out pretty quick.
I like it. All right. Well, I took
So
care of the wants. What about I took care of the needs. I'm sorry. You do the wants. So
I'll
identifying
do
wants in your budget. What's that look like?
well, and I think the way that I tend to approach it is, what are things that I need, and everything else is a want. And
Hmm.
so some of the things I put in there, some of the things I kind of classify as wants, obviously toys,
Yep.
and whether that's toys for the kids or toys for mommy and daddy,
Adults
you
have
know,
toys too. Exactly. You
yeah,
have
the new
the new
television,
exactly.
I've wanted to get in my backyard an outdoor projector and an outdoor screen and watch
Nice.
movies and watch sports and watch, but that's a want. So
Exactly.
that's not something I'm going to buy during the no spend challenge.
Yep.
The tickets to the game, those are wants. Although it's nice to have that break, it's nice to
Hmm.
reward yourself. I think you should reward yourself, but things like that are wants. I mean, we talked about, going to the grocery store, you need food to survive, but you don't always need to buy, my favorite coffee, I wait until it goes into a buy one get one before I buy it to bring it home.
Sure.
Some of the things that I was thinking about, I mean, this, I read all the time. So are
Entertainment, right?
getting
Hmm.
are getting new books a want or a need? But even within wants, I think we can be more cost effective at it. So
Correct.
the book that I just started was one of the books I got from our used library, the community library, the county library here. I went into the used bookstore. They had a couple of great books on leadership and management. And so for $2-3, I got a book that retails for $28. So save some money there.
Good.
Gifts. One of my kids' friends had a birthday party. So how much of a gift am
Hmm.
I, how much do we want to spend on gifts? And it's interesting in terms of, I don't know, I tend to be into gifts for how they make the other person feel. So, for example, if one of my son's friend who just had the birthday party is very much into baseball, very much into the Rays. So all the stuff we got him was baseball and Rays themed. I could have gone out and spent, $10 on Legos or $20 on Legos, but that's not what he wanted.
That's not what I want. Right.
He wanted Rays and baseball. So I went and spent, a few dollars on. It was funny. My son, I saw my son slide a baseball card into the birthday greeting card. I was like, "Oh, you're giving your friend, blah blah blah, baseball card." He's like, "Yeah," and so didn't really think anything of it. We go to the party. I drop my son off at the party. I go and pick him up. How do you like the present? Oh, he thought it was okay. I said, why? Didn't he like that card? And my son said, oh, well, that was his card. He left it at the house. And so I was just giving it back to him.
Oopsie. Yeah. Maybe, well, we need to ask. Maybe do a little bit more investigating in that. That's
Yeah.
funny. Well, there you
I
go.
needed to ask a few more. Here's your card back. Happy
Here's a
birthday.
follow-up question. Oh, that's
So,
funny. That's funny.
but
Um,
I think
yeah,
when you're budgeting, you figure out that's typically when I budget, that's what I do. What are the needs?
yep.
What are my needs for the household? What are my needs for the office? Everything else, I think, is a want.
And again, how honest are you with that assessment as well? Because sometimes our psychology plays against us when it comes to like, I need Netflix. Like, do you? But we can justify that. Well, my kids might like there may be anarchy in the home if there's not a Netflix account available to them to watch that series. But do you really need the five other streaming services? That's
Yeah,
where, again, this may be the okay, you can have one as part of the necessities in the home, but you need five or six of the others. And I think that's where you start to but we have to get to that point too when we're seeing that and doing that our needs and wants budget. Having the designer code, is that having the designer or the luxurious car, does that become, because we can justify our way into spending money. It's just
yeah,
we've been doing that for many many years, and I think that's the hard part of just kind of like, let's be true about the differences as well. Travel, going on vacations, I would say it's a need for family time. It's so important to do that. But if you're in crisis mode and having issues itself, it truly is a luxury to be able to go out on vacation, to do those kind of travels itself, even though I feel it's a very important necessity for any family.
well, and I agree with you, but I also think that there are ways, just because you travel doesn't mean you have to go to the other side of the world,
True.
flying first class for,
Well,
a month. You
well,
could
come
take, well,
on.
I mean, that's how the Curbellos do it.
I
Um,
wish. I
but
wish.
but
Hey, I'm driving to New York. Come on now, brother.
but what about like a day at the beach?
Yeah.
I mean, now
Picnic at
granted,
the park.
right. What about gosh, what else have we done? I mean, you could go by a lot of times. I know that some of the theme parks here in the area have that, buy for the day but come back for the year kind of thing.
Right.
Which, if you do that right, if you went once a month, your average visit to the park would only be, about $5.
You would save in the long run. So
Right,
yeah,
you'd
it's
say now,
it's mhm.
if you do that, if you say, "Sweet, I paid for the one day and it's gonna be 6 months before I go back," it may or may not be worth it at that point.
Correct. Correct. So
But
thinking about those, but that makes sense. That makes total sense on how to. But as you could tell, these conversations are not straightforward. It's like it's black and white. It's right or wrong. It's not. These things are going to be very different for every household and every. So it's really more looking at your budget and seeing how those fall into those categories.
yeah,
Okay.
and I think that's the important thing is just keeping track. I mean, like I said, I thought the big benefit of the no spend challenge was gonna be the money that I was gonna save, but what I ended up learning in the
Mm-hmm.
process, and it's not quite over yet, but
No.
what I ended up learning in the process was that it's helped me create better habits. I mean, even to the extent of making my lunch and bringing my lunch every
Yep.
day, I've noticed my sugar is lower when I wake up in the morning
There you go.
because I'm not going out to restaurants. I'm not getting loaded up with all the salt that they put in the restaurant food. So I'm not retaining. So I'm not, overall, there's other benefits, other habit causing benefits
Nice.
uh to doing the challenge here. But yeah, I think that was my biggest fear going in is what's going to be a need, what's going to be a want.
It
Um,
still is. I still have my, like I said, we could still justify our way into a nice steak dinner. And mine's is the foodie, man. I love eating. I just gotta be like, look, a salad is all you need, buddy, and go make it. Stop trying to
right.
get trying to buy it itself. Okay, so building the budget based off of needs and wants. That's the last piece of this. It's recommended that some folks, there's like the 50-30-20 budget, meaning, 50% of your budget is towards your needs, 30% are towards your wants, 20% is to savings or paying off debt. What's your take on, I mean, that's just one of many, of course, in regards to how do you put the budget together, but what's your recommendation when it comes to having a budget that incorporates your needs and wants?
I mean, for me, the way that I developed my very first budgets were a majority was focused on needs, very little was focused on wants, and then I had some budgeted towards savings, retirement, whatever. And I think the biggest lesson that I've learned over the years is you don't increase the wants as your income goes up.
Right.
You can increase your wants, but you don't increase your wants dollar for dollar. Just because I got a raise doesn't mean I need to upgrade from a Toyota to a Lexus.
Excellent.
Just because I got a raise doesn't mean I need to upgrade from, this to that. You could still stay at the level you're at and maybe put more towards savings, more towards
Correct.
retirement, more towards. So, I don't know that I always necessarily followed the formulas. I think what I did as I got a raise, I tried to force myself to put more into savings, and then whatever's left was wants. But I think you and I have kind of talked about it before in terms of when you get a raise, you don't need to spend the raise. You
Yeah, and
can.
that's the key. We always think of like that windfall. We always talked about the windfall. It's any extra money that we get that wasn't in the budget. What do you do with that? And it should always be towards either your short-term goals, or really, again, padding the savings, or having, anything that's part of the goals that you've set, because it's too easy to be like, oh, I make more money, let me first thing is, most of
Spend
us
more.
will spend more. So we
Well,
need to
and
be a lot more intentional with that.
the other thing I did with my budget, which again we've talked about on the show before a
Hmm.
couple of different times, was it's automatic.
Yep.
So within my payroll, I say take X amount of dollars and send it to savings. So even though within my budget, I have a certain amount that I want to save every month, I have another portion on top of that that automatically goes into savings. So it's not even, I bring home, I make more than mentally what I think I make, because some of what I make automatically goes to savings.
Mm. Oh,
So
and that makes it a lot easier. We always say the more the automation is when it comes to those types of activities, the easier they are to commit to and to stay, because you're not
right.
counting for you to kind of like, oh, I'm going to move this. I got paid. I'm going to move this money. A lot of times we're all procrastinators, or we get lazy. We're just like, oh, maybe I'll need that money. Again, we justify into spending it. We might need that
Or
for the rainy
hey,
day.
hey, the Rays game is coming up. Let's go.
Exactly. So I think that that's the idea, is really applying those categories, and really yeah, right, more necessities than wants, and obviously automating some of the savings always goes back to that. I might go through the exercise to see how much how do I fall in the 50-30-20 budget, and see if there's any adjustments we need to make, because I don't actually like label those kind of things, but it might be a good exercise to kind of see like how bad am I when it
Yeah.
comes to those kind of things. But again, they're recommendations. A lot of those budgets are recommendations. Put a budget together that allows you to really put savings, pay off debt, and keep the necessities more than the wants. And of course, the wants should never outdo what we're doing for savings as well. So
Yeah.
it's kind of that balance that you got to kind of do in your
You,
budget. Interesting.
something else kind of along those same lines, not to take a little bit of a step back in the discussion, but
Yeah.
I was helping a client earlier today with a loan modification, and talking about, do I need the Lexus versus the Toyota? Do I
Right.
need this versus that? Your housing payment, your rent payment, your mortgage payment should be about a third of your salary.
Yeah.
So if I'm bringing home 10 grand, do I need to live in a place that's costing me 5 grand a month? Or if I'm bringing home 10 grand, maybe I can get by in a place that's costing me 2 grand a month.
Right.
Or if I'm bringing home 5 grand, maybe I can get away with 1,000 or 1,250 instead of
Right.
1,500. I just got my escrow analysis done. It comes July of every year. my mortgage payment is going down. And my first thought was, great, let me take some of the reduction in my mortgage payment. And I think I'm going to keep my mortgage payment the same because it fits in my budget.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
because
okay.
less of that money is now required to make the mortgage payment, I'm paying down the principal faster.
Nice. Good move.
So,
That's a
you
good, those
know,
are good tips and good ways to use some of that windfall instead, right?
right.
Okay. Okay.
So
Nice.
cool.
Great advice there, my friend. That's all, you're all in the same. These are again the thing we want to take out of this is there's no one way. It's
Right.
really identifying your situation, really understanding exactly what it is how it applies to you. And if you struggle with, that wants and needs, and really we struggle with the execution. It's really, like, I know what my wants are, and yet they still, they're on my budget, even though they shouldn't be there, and I think that's where we're working with someone, family members, accountability partners, financial coaches. It really helps you to really identify those kind of things and make the necessary adjustments month to month to be able to go, okay, maybe I don't need the full $100. Maybe I can reduce it by a little bit, still have it in the budget, but now the extra money, you're using it towards a goal, savings,
Right.
whatever it might be. So, yeah.
Well, and I think that's, I will be glad when the July no spend challenge is over. I will be happy to do another one, but probably not August.
Not August. It's
Um,
we'll
but
challenge.
for the listeners that are out there, if you didn't have time to join us for the July challenge, keep posted. We'll do another one at some
Yep.
point. But you can do one for yourself. And if you need an accountability partner, reach out. If you need a coach, reach out. If you
Yep.
need help with your budget, reach out. I mean, that's what George does. I'm happy to help, although chances are I'd send you to George for that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, reach out for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Do your own
What
no spend
questions you
challenge.
have? Right.
Get a group of friends together. Do it amongst yourselves, and especially if you are trying to save up for something. I need to save up for that gift, for that toy, for that thing that I want instead
Mhm.
of need. Do your own no spend challenge and see how much money you can save to get there.
I would agree.
So
I probably will be in the no spend challenge the rest of the year because I'm going to keep announcing that we have the house that I got to deal with itself. So, I'm going to be no spending other than saving for this home so that it's all, we have a clean and good transition into the home itself in the new year. So, yeah, I'll
nice.
be no spending the rest of the year. My wife will
Oh,
not
cool.
like it, but yeah,
No.
we'll keep trying and we'll keep putting away.
Okay.
So,
Well, speaking of housing, and speaking of being remote, I've got some stuff I've got to take care of here at the house.
absolutely.
But I didn't want to let everybody go without talking. We haven't talked in a couple weeks about the Patreon page.
Yes.
That is a way to get points in the no spend challenge. That is also a way to support us
Support
so
us.
that we can get some money back into the editing of the show.
Man, it's like
But
since I've joined, I just keep pulling you down, and we're just you keep digressing on the quality of I'm kidding, of
no,
course,
we're
but
doing
we're doing
fine.
fantastic. No, I
We
agree.
are
I agree.
doing
It's up, but
fine.
any money will help. Any support, and we obviously
Any
try to
support.
provide some extra content, and obviously easy accessibility to us. If there's if you're a Patreon member, you get to be able to communicate. We get to discuss, and again some support that comes along with that as well. So yeah, come and
Exactly.
support us and join. We don't know what the tribe would be called, but I think we could
We'll
say
figure it out.
the crushers
Yeah.
or some. we're so
I'm
old. I'm
not
sorry.
I'm not sold on that one, but we'll
No,
figure
I
it
doubt
out.
it. I
But
doubt it too.
in the meantime, we got the July no spend challenge. We got about 1 week left. If you're
Yep.
listening, actually, you only have a few days
Few
left if you're
days. Few
listening to
days.
this when on the day it comes out. But the whole point of this entire no spend challenge is that we hope that you have more money at the end of the month rather than month at the end of the money. And we will talk to you in next week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast.